this concept of the sea can take anything, all our refuge, is even with us today. You want to get ready, dump it in the sea, nothing can happen. Throw it in the rivers, it will wash down to the sea and it will disappear. But really what garbage and waste was unsightly things, so just throw it there. And that had happened during the early 1900s with ships, and particularly oil tankers. They would clean the tanks, they take on another shipment of cargo, and it will be just dumped in the sea. And it did cause some problem. People used to see the build-up on the shorelines. They used to see the effect it had on animals, the maritime environment, and they decided that something should be done about it. In 1954, the United Kingdom called a conference. They get other people together, especially people dealing with the transportation and production of crude oil, and they put together a set of convention, a set of rules in a convention. The first international agreement or convention was done in 1954, and it was known as the Prevention of Pollution by Sea, at Sea, or Prevention of Sea, Oil by Oil in 1954. So that predates even IMO, or at the time the organization was known as IMCO, International Maritime Convention Organization, before it became IMO. In 1967, something happened. And I don't know if you have heard about the Torrey Canyon incident. It's one of the first major oil spill incident. And in that situation, or in that incident, the world was awoken by the amount of oil that was poured out in the sea because of this incident. This really pushed the international community to take a look and regulation dealing with crude carriers or oil tankers. Following this disaster, a new convention was adopted the same year, one which gave the states the right to intervene in incidents on the ice seas which are likely to result in oil pollution. You as a young technocrats coming up in the marine field, it's your duty to ensure that when you go to sea, you're aware of the convention and your duties to ensure that we keep a clean and safe sea.
I want to look at MARPOL in terms of its relationship with seafarers, or the relationship that seafarers must have with MARPOL. They must be aware that it's a critical international treaty that addresses significant aspects of marine pollution on board, of course, including discharge of oil, chemicals, sewage, and garbage into the sea. Consequently, seafarers must acquire the knowledge, understanding, and proficiency for marine pollution prevention. Marine pollution prevention, it's a mandatory requirement within the ambit of the STCW Convention, and it is included in our curricula at the CMU. And if we drill down further, it would be found in maritime legislation. What MARPOL has highlighted environmental awareness among maritime students and professionals, emphasizing the importance of protecting the marine environment and to encourage a culture of environmental responsibility within the industry. Environmental stewardship is integrated in education and training programs, fostering a sense of responsibility for the oceans and the environment. And here, but emphasis on environmental protection and MARPOL compliance has created new career opportunities in the maritime industry. Not everybody will stay at sea for 10 years. Not everybody will like to be at sea, having gone out and experienced what it is like. So you always want to make sure that you are very well equipped. You have options that you can choose if you do not like to be at sea. So graduates with specialized knowledge in pollution prevention and environmental management are sought after by shipping companies, regulatory authorities such as the Maritime Authority of Jamaica, and environmental organizations.
Port state control is a regime set up to pretty much focus on inspection of foreign ships in your own local jurisdiction. And it sort of came about in 1978 after one of the incident that Mr. Loban would have mentioned, which was the Amico Cadiz. So in that incident, they recognized that there was no standardized inspection regime for ships to ensure conformity to standards. Now, after the incident in 1978, this led to the IMO adopting a resolution which gives effect to the PSC MOUs across the globe. As it relates to MARPOL, what this does is forces the flag administration for of the ships to ensure that the ships are they carry the requisite equipment on board, they operate at a certain standard that is acceptable, and it also gives Port State Control the authority to board that ship to ensure that those standards are maintained. For example, a Liberian flag vessel trading from, let's say they're carrying oil from Venezuela to Jamaica. When they get to Jamaica, we have the authority to go on board to carry out inspection on that vessel to ensure that the standards are being maintained. So that's what Port State Control actually does. Right. All right, so as it relates to MARPOL, they would have mentioned all 6 annexes before. On the Port State Control inspection, we'll be inspecting the vessel under the various annexes. So under Annex 1, which focuses on oil, we're going to be checking oil water separator, and this is the equipment on board that prevent the overboard discharge of oily substances from the ship. So it's supposed to, if there's in excess of 15 ppm oil being discharged overboard, then this alarm system goes off, and then it alerts the ship's crew to this happening, and then they can take action to prevent it from going aboard. Drills, which is a part of your onboard training to ensure that you maintain your competence. So the vessel is expected to carry out a specific number of oil spill response drill throughout every month on board the vessel itself. And these drills involve all crew members. So we'll be checking for the records. In the event that we're not satisfied with what we're seeing, we can actually conduct an oil spill response drill then and there. We're looking at their exhaust gas cleaning system. So for some ships are fitted with what we call scrubbers to sort of clean the fuel before it goes through the exhaust system. We want to see what they're doing with the effluent from those scrubbers. Or is it that they're treating with it? Or is it being discharged? That sort of thing. Is it being discharged? Sure. Do they have records of it being discharged? Is it a little man come up with a boat beside them somewhere in Kingston Harbor named Shark and toss it to Sharky? That sort of thing. So those are the things that we're looking for to ensure that they are conforming with the various annexes under MARPOL.
When you are not able to trade in a certain region, it obviously hurts your economic potential, and so people who seek to fix the things that will cause them to become compliant so that they can trade in these areas. Offering percentages of fines as rewards to whistleblowers, and so we find that given the large monetary possibilities in being a whistleblower, we find that we have quite a few persons who are coming to the fore and reporting vessels who are non-compliant. What this does, it is a double-edged sword, and the downside of this is that people often circumvent the internal management systems of the company and not give the company an opportunity to be aware of the non-conformity in an effort to fix it. However, it works in the grand scheme of things. And so, but what we find in the U.S. institutions, or in the U.S. courts, is that most of the prosecutions are surrounding oil water discharge. And my friend Valentine would have spoken to it quite a bit. But false records in an oil record book is an offense in the U.S. And so they prosecute this quite frequently. And this is even if these records or these entries were not done within U.S. territory. So once they find that you have a falsified entry in your oil record book, then they can begin prosecution. And they often do, and they impose quite large fines. So the U.S. this is usually a flag state matter if it is done outside of a certain territory, but the U.S. assumes the role of the World Maritime Police. All right, and I'll just slide in here that there are some people who thought that MARPOL meant Marine Police. It doesn't. One other jurisdiction that I'd like to point out is the Cayman Islands. And the Cayman Islands has, though my friend would have indicated that in the Caribbean region, we are not particularly good at garbage collection and garbage management. However, in the Cayman jurisdiction, what they do is they institute a mandatory garbage collection method for ships to enter their territory. And so what this causes, it reduces the likelihood of marine pollution once these ships leave their ports. And so these are all, not all, but these are two examples of things that we could be implementing in our own jurisdiction to improve our own compliance. I tell you. Jamaica has invested in training of local law enforcement officers to increase the percentage of port state control, because the more you can enforce and the more you can inspect is the better you will be inevitably. When people know that coming to Jamaica you are going to be exposed to a port state control, then people will come here with the right attitude. Jamaica holds a symbiotic relationship with the operational arm, which is the Jamaica Defense Force, and the shore-based installations. Those are the ports and the marine interests who operate near shore. And they hold the equipment, and we hold some of the expertise. So they hold the booms, all the things that you know are in the SOPEP kit. And so we deploy to these areas and use these to good effect to contain and deal with oil spills whenever the time comes up. JDF members are also sent on oil spill response courses and so on, and so that develops our capacity to operate with our main disaster response team, which is the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. And so you see that in doing so, we have a situation where we have things that work for us as a jurisdiction. And again, it's just to coalesce all of these things, take the best practices from other areas and put it together so that it works for us.